Good morning, good afternoon, and good late evening to our guests from across Canada, the US, and Asia. Welcome to the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada's online Asia Leaders Speaker Series event with Dr. Cong Phan, Chairman of UniBrands, Saigon Foods, and Wakamono Group. Today's session is titled Vietnam's Post-Pandemic Economic Acceleration. Mesdames et Messieurs, bienvenue à notre événement en ligne de la Fondation Asie-Pacifique du Canada, Accélération économique post-pandémique au Vietnam. My name is Christine Nakamura, Vice President of the Asia-Pacific Foundation of Canada's Toronto office and your host for today's event. To begin, on behalf of the Foundation, I'd like to acknowledge that places Canadians call home are the traditional territories of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. I'd like to briefly go over some housekeeping points right now. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on our website after the event. Any questions you may have for the speaker are to be logged in through the Q&A box on your screen. Time permitting, we'll do the best we can to answer all the questions. Feel free to contact us if your questions don't get answered, and we will do our best to respond to them. For technical support during the session, contact events@asiapacific.ca, and we are scheduling an hour for today's event. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce our Board Vice Chair, the Honorable Marie-Lucie Morin. Madame Morin is a member of the Queen's Privy Council for Canada. Given her appointment as a committee member of the National Security and Intelligence Review Agency, or NSIRA, in 2019, she also served on the Security Intelligence Review Committee, the predecessor to the NSIRA. After a distinguished diplomatic career, which included many senior appointments, such as Deputy Minister of International Trade and Canada's Ambassador to Norway, Madame Morin served as the Prime Minister's National Security Advisor from 2008 to 2010 and the World Bank's Executive Director for Canada, Ireland, and the Caribbean from 2010 to 2013. Madame Morin was awarded the Governor General's 125th anniversary of the Confederation of Canada Medal and became a member of the Order of Canada in 2016. Madame Morin, a graduate of l'Université de Sherbrooke, is a lawyer and was admitted to the Quebec Bar in 1980. It is now my distinct pleasure to invite Madame Morin to make opening remarks. Over to you, Marie-Lucie.
Thank you very much, Christine, and hello to everybody. It is my great pleasure to welcome you today to our online Asia Leaders Speakers Series. Bonjour à tous et je vous souhaite la bienvenue à notre série de conférences en ligne des dirigeants d'Asie. So today's session marks the 6th online event since the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada launched this online series in early May. We have heard about a number of effective approaches employed by jurisdictions in the Asia-Pacific region to contain COVID-19. And one common element in the approaches we have heard was that none imposed a total lockdown, including Vietnam, the country we're about to hear today. The one difference, however, from previously discussed jurisdictions is that Vietnam, despite encountering the first infection as early as late January 2020, has yet to register a single fatality from COVID-19. With a population of 96 million, almost 3 times that of Canada, in fact, Vietnam has only had 355 infections as of late June. Canada, at the same time, has registered 103,210 cases and sadly, 8,522 fatalities. In spite of avoiding a total lockdown, Vietnam did not escape a major economic downturn. Its Q1 GDP growth was 3.8%, the lowest, in fact, since 2010. Due to COVID-19, disruptions to global supply chains have affected Vietnam's very important manufacturing sector, and the unprecedented import declines expected by the US and the EU, two of Vietnam's key export destinations, will undoubtedly impact on Vietnam's GDP growth for the year, which is nevertheless still projected to reach as high as 4.8%. So today, we have a unique opportunity to hear from Vietnam's representative on the Foundation's Asia Business Leaders Advisory Council, Dr. Cong Phan. He will discuss with us what Vietnam did and so quickly to avoid a real health crisis in his country and provide insights on the plans and solutions under consideration in Vietnam for economic recovery to enable the achievement of growth projections. I personally much look forward to the presentation and the discussion which will follow, which will be moderated by my fellow board member, Dr. Lois Nahirny. So without further ado, back to you, Christine.
Thank you, Mary Lucy. I would now like to provide a bit of background on today's speaker, Dr. Cong Phan. Dr. Phan is a serial entrepreneur and chairman of UniBrands, Saigon Foods, and Wakamono Group. His efforts focus on developing daily consumer businesses that involve food, health, beauty, and personal care products. Since COVID-19, his nanotech company, Wakamono, has transitioned to produce non-woven and antimicrobial fabrics to manufacture face masks with the intention of making Vietnam a major global supplier. Dr. Phan serves on numerous boards, including a private equity firm and Vietnam's largest herbal medicine company and leading mobile retailer, as well as Vietnamese ventures of two large global organizations, one of which is Zone Startups Vietnam. Zone Startups, I might add, is a Toronto-based startup accelerator operated by Ryerson Futures, a for-profit entity connected to Ryerson University. As an Eisenhower Fellow himself, Dr. Phan serves on the Eisenhower Fellowship's President's Advisory Council, and in 2014, he was awarded Ernst & Young's Vietnam EY Entrepreneur of the Year Award. He's a member of the Chief Executives Organization, CEO, and the Young Presidents Organization, YPO, and we are proud to have him on our Foundation's Asia Business Leaders Advisory Council. So Dr. Phan, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Thanks for your nice introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. This is my honor to be here today, sharing with you the case of Vietnam. How is Vietnam winning its wars on coronavirus? And as you know, Vietnam is a densely populated neighbor of China with the weak healthcare system and the low budget for combating the coronavirus. So how Vietnam has managed to keep the infection rate so low as still while growing the economy. Next, please. The fact is Vietnam share a long border, 1,000 kilometers with China, and two countries have deep economic link. There are two factors here, zero debt from the population 96 million, and the economy this year is forecasted to grow by 5%. While both numbers deserve scrutiny, there is no evidence of the outbreak cover-up, and the bullishness of the Vietnamese economy is shared by IMF, World Bank, and many institutions. Next, please. And but Vietnam is not the developed country. This is a country with limited resources, and as you know, the capability to fight with the COVID is largely depend on the government funding and a strong public health system, and Vietnam lacks both. For testing capability, Vietnam does not have the capability to test to follow the South Korea style, and which has so far involved carrying about 350,000 tests. For medical system, the country medical system also limited, and the Ho Chi Minh City where I'm living, the previous name is Saigon, the 8 million population metropolitan, which had only 900 intensive care beds, and so an epidemic would easily overwhelm this capacity of the city. Next, please. So how it happened? I try to summarize 6 critical action has been done by Vietnam since the first day of the coronavirus in Jan. These steps are easy to describe, next please, but difficult to implement. And the first one is act early. Next. So you know, Vietnam found the first case on the 23rd of January. This is the time just 2 days before the Lunar New Year, and this is a busy time, and people don't work this time because we have 2 weeks holidays. And but within 1 week since the first case happened, Vietnam quickly set up the steering committee for prevention and control, and it's under the People's Public Security Force, so we can call the support from military as well to support for this. And it's just 1 week after the first case, and after that, the next day, Vietnam declared the coronavirus as an epidemic, and immediately bans all flights to and from mainland China, suspended visa for Chinese, suspended Chinese visa for foreigners who have been in China in the past 2 weeks, and stopped the train from China. So all things happened within 1 week. And you know, this is the traveling season, and it impacts the travel plan of millions of people domestically and also internationally. And the company worked through the holiday, and a week after that, when the MOH and the WHO together, they organized meeting with 700 hospitals at all levels nationwide, and launched the website with the information spreading to wider public view. And few days later, after that, the WHO announced the COVID-19. So all the aggressive prevention action has been implemented by the Vietnamese government. So that's why until the end of February, there were only 16 cases impacted and infected and completely recovered and discharged at the end of February. This helped to stop the spread to 100,000 people or even more in the case of other countries. Next, please. And the second thing is setting the war spirit against the coronavirus. And since the end of January, Vietnam's government declared war on coronavirus. The Prime Minister focused that every business, every citizen, every residential area must be a fortress to prevent the epidemic. This called a huge attention from Vietnamese, as they are proud of their ability to stand together in a crisis. Next, please. And the huge propaganda campaign has been done. As you know, the media in Vietnam got strong influence by the government, and which is fully leveraged. And the government launched a massive communication campaign. So on the national TV channel, there are news about coronavirus and explain in the morning when people wake up, go to work, they see billboard on the street, they see like at the bus stop, people go to wet market, they see poster, they got SMS from telco company, they see poster in their residential area, and go to office. On the screen also advertise about, communicate about what should be done, and on social media, and targeting the young people and also the older generation. The younger generation, people like music, hip hop, and then the Ministry of Health sponsor for the song, which went on viral after that, to teach people how to wash hands. And you can see some of the picture in the next coming slide. And this is on the YouTube is a popular song to wash hand. Next one is there are some like billboard on the street during those days. Yeah, next. Yeah, so basically people has been asked to wash their hand, wearing mask, and to try to prevent the spread of the virus since about 2 weeks after the first case. Next, please. So, yeah, next. So wearing mask, this is the density country, so wearing mask is mandatory. So people, you can see this real picture during those holiday, and people can be fined if they not wearing mask when they go out. Next. One thing many people, not many people talk about is gathering intel. According to the US-based security company FireEye, Vietnamese intelligence agent may have been launched a cyber attack to collect information. And at the early day, on the 6th of January, so before the day Vietnam recorded the first case, the company named APT32 the FireEye believe that APT32 has launched the attack to get more information on the China Ministry of Emergency Management, and also attack on Wuhan provincial government to gather information. Why Hanoi declined the cyber attack and the source in Vietnam were unwilling to discuss. There's a specialist, his name is Carl Taylor, the specialist on Vietnam defense issue, said that there is no reason why Vietnam could not have picked up on this, as well as through human intelligence and monitoring the Chinese language internet. Next. And also one thing very unique is the rigorous quarantine. And to take the fight against coronavirus, Vietnam applied the rigorous quarantine policy and carrying out complete tracing to all people who exposed to the risk of virus. These measures were implemented much earlier in the course of epidemic than in China. And so the people got infected, that's the F0, and then the F1, F2, F3, F4, F5. All these people have been placed under stringent level and of movement and contact restriction. Without much like technology involved, it's owned by the form, the Excel form, handwriting, and then following up. And on the February 12th, Vietnam put an entire town of 10,000 people near Hanoi under a quarantine for 3 weeks. At that time, there were only 10 confirmed cases in the entire country. So authority also widely documented everyone who potentially came in contact with the virus. And so from the very early on, anyone arrived Vietnam a high-risk area would be quarantined for 14 days. And school closure, that's a bit of luck on this. You know, Vietnam, the country went on holiday. And the first case found on 23rd of January. At that time, school already closed. and are supposed to open in early of February. But then the government discussed and decided to extend the closure, and it extended several times until late of April, when the whole country went back to normal. Next, please. And also, the rule of Vietnam, also there's no study to prove it, but the mood on social media and conversation with Vietnamese indicate that the majority of the public agree with government measure. They are proud of Vietnam is faring comparatively well in dealing with the crisis, and the country's most popular communist fighter, Vice Premier Dam, has been celebrated on Facebook as the national hero. And there are few people who bother by the fact that this success can give a political advantage to the Vietnam Communist Party government, and which have been accused for violating civil rights, but in overall, people are accepting the stricter control of the media. Next, please. So the bottom line is this success story, including like Taiwan, Australia, Vietnam, Germany, South Korea, they all align not by the style of governance, but by the early competent action and a bit of luck. So how Vietnam, how's the economy of Vietnam before and after the COVID-19? Please, next. Next one. So I try to give you a bit background about Vietnam. As you know, Vietnam opened the country since the late of 1980, and the country still try to go for the socialist direction with the same time with economic liberalization. And it brought extreme poverty from above 50% to nearly zero in that time. And in over the last decade, has seen as the second fastest economic growth and behind China. And last year, the GDP growth was 6.5%. And next, please. And this gives us the overview about economy. So you look at here from in the last, like since 2005 until now, the FDI flow continue to rise. And this is the Asia fastest growing export country economy. The current account is surplus, and the reserve at record high. The local currency Vietnam Dong VND has been kept stable. The chart shows in the last 10 years, and the country has low foreign debt compared to the other neighboring country. So country was in the good shape before the COVID-19 happened. And next, please. The GDP in Q1 with all the impact grew 3.8% versus last year. And government has released fiscal support. The country came back to normal in the last week of April until now, and then the government plan to resume flight soon with any country that have not any new case for 30 days. Yeah, so hopefully I can go home in the next probably July, August, if we don't have any new case in Canada. And so the concept of economic cost save life that has been widely accepted by the population. But in Q1, in the first 2 months, and 1,000 business had been closed, and people got even big corporation have been impacted, especially with hotel resort because of the drop in tourism. And Vietnam government also tried to set up to pump liquidity into the economy. However, the tax revenue would dry up, and it's different with Canada. Government give money to support for people who lost a job. In Vietnam, people also call for individual and company donation to support the country during this time. Next, please. And definitely, the economy has been impacted because as the export market, Vietnam export mainly to US, and 23%, that's the biggest export market. And EU and China, similar, 15%. And then the other country. And we take example of one industry, that is textile. And in Q1, 20–30% order has been canceled by client in other country. Next, please. However, this chart, this is a calculation from one funds in Vietnam, and analyzing the fund case. That's the base case, the best case, and the worst case. Depends on when the COVID-19 is contained and business can get back to normal. So the base case is if the normal business operation by July, Vietnam can continue to keep at nearly like 4.9% GDP growth. But if it's delayed 1 month and get back to normal by August, the growth only 2.8%. Only 1 month delay can write off nearly half of the GDP growth. And when we look at the different industry, we see the service is the one with most impacted because it can have the risk to go down to negative. Why the other they are in better situation, especially with industry and construction that can be in the better shape. In overall now, Vietnam already back to normal. People still have to wear masks when they go out and when meet with people. 2 days ago, in Ho Chi Minh City, people found one case. He came back from France and 1 month ago, and been positive and already negative, and now it's the test again to show he's positive again. So they found one case. The whole building has to test. So this is to see how Vietnamese people deal with stop the spreading of virus. And I hope the country can continue to be in this like free, come back to normal. However, I also hope the world can also get back to normal soon in Canada, and then we all can have the can have the better picture in the coming months. Thanks for your attention, and I stop here and willing to listen to your opinion.
Thank you, Dr. Phan. That was such an informative presentation. But now, before we start the Q&A session, I would like to say a few words about today's moderator and APF Canada's board member, Dr. Lois Nahirny. Sorry about that. I forgot to put my video back on. Lois is a biotech entrepreneur and president and CEO of DNA Power, Inc., a preventative healthcare company which provides DNA information to better enable health decisions. Previously, she has occupied many senior executive positions at major corporations in Canada. She is passionate about gender economic advancement and has served as chair of the BC Premier's Women's Economic Council, co-chair of We for She, and the national co-chair of Women's Executive Network. Lois is a board member of Vietnam Education Society, or VES, a charity that builds schools in Vietnam and sends girls at high risk of being trafficked to summer camps and school on scholarships. VES was awarded a Medal of Honor from the Vietnamese government for its contributions to girls and youth in Vietnam. Personally, Lois has been recognized for her work as one of Canada's most powerful women, Top 100, BIV Influential Women in Business, and YWCA Women of Distinction. Lois has a doctorate of business administration from Asia Pacific International University, an MBA from Ivey Business School, and a BA in economics and political science from UBC, University of British Columbia. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Lois Nahirny. Over to you, Lois.
Thanks very much, Christine. So I thank you very much. I'm very honored to be with you here today. And Dr. Phan, a fantastic presentation. As we were talking earlier, I have 2 children who are adopted from Vietnam. And so I've had a very special relationship with Vietnam for 18 years now. And we've spent many beautiful opportunities traveling through the country. So I love hearing from you and what's happening. And it's been very impressive to hear what's happening in Vietnam right now. Now, we've had a number of questions. I had a number of questions for you, but we've had a few that have come in that I want to start with for you. And so these are some of our audience has asked, and just want to see what some of your thoughts are on this. So first of all, mask wearing in Vietnam has been mandatory. That's what you've mentioned. It's not mandatory in most parts of Canada. Is the government in Vietnam responsible for supplying or distributing the masks? Or has that been the purview and the responsibility of its citizens?
Yeah, in Vietnam, we have the healthcare system have some similarity with Canada. This is the healthcare system with mostly public funded. And there's some private hospital, but not much. And majority is the public healthcare system. And however, during the time of COVID-19, we were under the shortage of masks. And the government did few things. First is to apply zero tax for all essential products to and material to import to Vietnam to produce that. But then the local company just like jump in and try to find the solution. So take an example, we did not have enough medical masks at the beginning, but we have many garment factories. So the garment factory turned into producing fabric masks. And of course, they need some material. Like that's why one of my company also jump in and we produce that microbial fabric and that support for them. And also later on, we plan to expand that into Canada as well. And so it's not like one party like the government. This is, I can see this is the joint effort from the government side to create like to have the policy that support for that, and then the core come in and together with like different city, different level people try to have enough masks, and people do that. I can see like a lot of voluntary to that, and even many people do not have. People have to buy masks to wear, and even there are people who are not have money to buy masks. And I see so many like volunteer giving masks on the street to people who drive motorbike past them, and they give like million masks, and also they give masks as a gift to many other countries as well. Give to I have a lot of friends, and then they give masks to they went to U.S. Consulate, U.S. Embassy to give masks for friends in different organizations in U.S. as well. So that is we can see the strong unity during this time and try to overcome the epidemic.
That's great. You know, I know when you're in some of the major cities in Vietnam, you often see people wearing the masks anyway on the motorbike. So I think there is potentially some culture of that already that exists. You know, that brings us to, you've got some very populated cities in Vietnam. How difficult has it been to maintain social distancing? And is social distancing a concept that you've been applying across the country or trying to encourage?
Yeah. In Vietnam, there's no, especially in the city like Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi, there's no way we can have enough space for 6 feet social distancing, and even supermarket is not big as in Canada, and so wearing masks become essential to protect, even with the shorter distance, and it is proven like, and then we have learned that since the SARS 12 years ago. And at that time, Vietnam was one of the countries who also got a strong, big impact by the SARS. And so it recalled us, and with all the lessons we learned since last time.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've been very involved in a lot of women's economic gender movements, and we know that you've got a women's union in Vietnam. Do you know if there are any groups like the Women's Union or others that played a role in helping government efforts to fight COVID?
In Vietnam, we have different organizations. One organization is the Women Entrepreneur organization. The name is the HAWE, HAWEE. So HAWE is, I can say that's the strongest, one of the strongest entrepreneur association right now. I don't know why they don't have the men's association, but they have the women entrepreneur association. And yes, this is there are a lot of activities going on at that time, and even now. And we can see in the Vietnam, comparing many other places I know, Vietnam is a country who have the higher ratio of women entrepreneurs. So taking one example of the YPO network I belong in, and the Vietnamese YPO chapter has 40% of women entrepreneurs, which is much higher than the ratio in the network, which only 20%. So
that's amazing. The 40% in YPO, that's really stunning. So fantastic. You know, with that, let's move a little bit into the economics of what you're seeing in the country. And you mentioned that 3,000 businesses have closed. Well, that's pretty dramatic. How is the pandemic? What else have you seen on how it's impacted Vietnam's SME community, which, like Canada, makes up over 95% of the economy?
Yeah. I think the impact on business sector is big, and so I'd like to share a few slides here, so you can to show you your question is excellent question that remind me to one research I have read recently, and would like to share, and would like to put my share screen on here. This is the research from the Economic University, and they study mainly on the impact on the SME, and so the difficulties people the company facing is the biggest is, have you seen the slide I put on? You seen the screen on that? Yeah, and you can see like 60% company, they see the decline in revenue, and the manufacturing and business activity operate below the level. So, and then people lack of capital to pay for operation, and then the estimate about the revenue decline. So you can see here, half of companies say they have below 50% decline, and the half they got decline more than 50% of revenue due to COVID-19. And what biggest burden of the business? Of course, company have to pay for rental costs and operating expense. One thing different with Canada is the interest company have to pay is a much the bigger portion, so 25% of their operating expense. And probably because the interest rate in Vietnam is still high, and company have to borrow with the interest rate easily from 7 to 10%. So that is a big burden for them. And also, in order to respond to that, company have to cut down the regular operating expenses. Like people postpone, like cancel the family trip, they cancel like certain kind of like party and traveling. Of course, we're not able to do party this time, but so they try to save here and there, and then also cut down the scale operation. And one thing also different is you see here is the unpaid leave, because of that called unpaid leave, because company doesn't want to lay off people, and also employee also love the company. So there's an agreement that okay, I have certain days not take leave yet. Even I already use up all of my day, but I'm willing to take like 1 month, 2 months, stay home without any salary, and then I can come back when company get back to normal. So this is a joint like support from two sides to overcome this difficulty. And these are the different response on this one scenario on this situation. So right now we are in the middle, so till June. So so Vietnam back to normal in April, but the world is still in the next one. So in April, when we went back, there are about 20% of company has been, in which some of that bankrupt and a small bank went bankrupt, but the bigger portion is nearly 20% they're holding operation. And so right now we can see, now is June, we can see like company who has who serve for domestic consumer already back to normal. So but the company who rely on export are still in difficult situation, because like even like North America not got back to like got normal yet. So we start to have some orders, but still a lot of like company waiting for their client to come back. However, for the bigger corporation, company like Samsung, who like 90% of Samsung phone made in Vietnam. So Samsung factory still operate during the time of the pandemic happened, because they got the government really support for that. So the factory also can run. So many other factory also, like one of my factories, Saigon Foods, we produce food mainly for Japan and domestic for Vietnam. We run all the time, so we don't have to stop with that. So those are the situation, and the feedback from company on the policy government has been done. So government has been done several policy to support, including like to extend the payment time of tax to and so on, and even like the social insurance payment has been holding and not increase the utility costs. So from the range from 1 to 5, the company rate that. So we can see there is no policy which is crucial to company, but there's no policy which is bad. So that's all good policy, but like supporting rather than really make the company survive. So it depends on company effort to overcome this. And this is also the forecast on to give you better like quantitative idea on how much decline in each industry we anticipate. So we can see like the hospitality expect more decline, like 30–40% decline, and in the domestic trade and anything more domestic, it's less suffer on that. Yeah.
Great. I mean, there's just some incredible information here around, again, the overall impact on the economy. So, I mean, and as we've said, we're still in the middle of it. So it kind of depends, as you noted, by month, how much more impact can be had. So it really is quite dependent on things starting to take off again. So, you know, the pandemic has definitely impacted your manufacturing sector. And many economies around the globe are really rethinking their supply chain strategies. Do you think Vietnam will try to rethink how it manages its global supply chain, how it manages some of the exports or imports with US and EU, or, you know, which are a big market for you? You know, what do you see as terms of what will have to change in your manufacturing sectors now with some of these changes? Are you hoping things get back to normal?
Yeah, yes, I think right now, Vietnam, actually Vietnam continue to, in the last few years, and Vietnam continue to be like the place, the preferred choice for foreign direct investment, especially with like relocation. And actually I have a few slides here, and okay, I think this slide also can help. And because we look at this, and China plus one is not the new trend. So this is the chart 10 is the export, that shows the export value from Vietnam. So you can see the big jumps since 2011 to 2018, and Vietnam raised its export. And it's mainly because of we get improvement on infrastructure. So the ranking increased from 64 to 39. And if we put, there's another slide here. This is the ranking of like relocation metric. So I don't think the company is moving out of China. But the China plus one is the one people talk about that for a long time, and the COVID-19 just like accelerate that trend, and Vietnam take advantage because the capability to support business even during the pandemic happened. Factories still be able to run and got with all the measure. And so I hope like Vietnam can continue to do that, and so we see more and more company coming, and especially like example, just yesterday I got the update that the Q2. The Q2 is the Q2 result is it can be seen as like the worst because of the 2-week lockdown, but it's still positive, and then the country still got more news of the big corporation they coming make investment to Vietnam.
Yeah. Do you think that Vietnam may be a beneficiary of the fact that there's some countries having concerned that their supply chains relied so heavily on China, and you've got countries like the US starting to step back a little bit from China? Do you think that there's an opportunity for Vietnam to step in there and become a more preferred supplier than it has been in the past?
Yeah, Vietnam can be a choice, but comparing to China, Vietnam has comparing the size of the labor and then also the whole like supporting industry. I think it's not like replace China, but it's like another choice to like investment. You make like diversification to minimize the risk. So Vietnam is the place at that. And but one thing also benefit Vietnam, I think more than the COVID-19 is other like free trade agreement. So recently Vietnam signed the free trade agreement with EU, and in the free trade agreement, the tax can be go to zero with the product with the rule of origin. So product need to make in Vietnam. So so by that, Vietnam can attract more, not only like international company, but or even like China company want to set up factory in Vietnam and then can produce material in Vietnam, made in Vietnam 100% to enjoy the free tax, the zero tax to one of the largest market like EU in the coming year.
So, so let's talk, that's the EU. Now, what about Canada? So what opportunities do you see for Canada-Vietnam trade and investment cooperation? We're fellow CPTPP signatories. What could come out of this for Canada and Vietnam? And I know that you look at that policy. Would love to hear your ideas.
Mm-hmm. For me, I'm really passionate about opportunity between Vietnam and Canada, which I think we have tremendous unexplored opportunity. The reason, two things is the right size country. I can say that right size means when in Canada, when people think about Asia, people think about China, but China is too big. China is a market with more than 1 billion people and more complexity, and Vietnam is the market with 100 million people. It's not billion, but which is big enough for expansion. And for the company, for two sides, Vietnam and Canada, we all have like 90% of the countries are not SME. And the third thing is also important for Vietnam is we don't have the political sensitive with Canada. So Canada is seen as a peaceful country and very nicely friendly. And however, because of the majority of two economies are SME, so the role of government come in to do more to help to establish the bridge between two countries, and especially the role of the organization like what we're doing is playing more critical role in helping that. And for the COVID-19 impact, I immediately can see a few opportunities, which is not new, but it's be accelerated. And the first one is education. You know, in education, Vietnam government, Vietnam parent, they willing to spend for their children on education. So, so in US, Vietnam ranked number 4 in some of the number of international students. So you can imagine China, India, those are like huge country, and they have more students, but Vietnam's ranked number 4. And I'm sure Canada also see more and more Vietnamese students come to study. But the COVID-19 can bring more opportunity for like online education as well. So why the famous university like UOT or British Columbia University or Waterloo and couldn't offer the more Vietnamese with like different like online program, the same quality. And the second thing is software development. And you know, every year there are like thousands of like graduated students graduated from US couldn't find a job there because of different immigration policy. Couldn't allow them easy to stay there, find a job, they go back to Vietnam and work there. And so we have enough people who can do the job there on like writing code. Vietnam lacking of the above level, like a kind of supervisor, project management level. And then that we have in Canada. If we can like work together, and that can immediately like make the Canadian company stronger and also bring international experience for Vietnamese graduate students. And the number 3 is service industry. So you know, Vietnam just in the first phase of digital transformation. there are not many people have applied that. In Canada, we only pass through of that. So by working together, actually, you can create more value and stuff. So there are several other examples, but I named 3 with that. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Fantastic for that, Dr. Phan. You know, so your advice to us as Canadians, look at education, software, and service in terms of how we can increase our relationship with Vietnam. We're in our final minutes here. Is there any final comments or advice you have for Canadians in terms of how to manage with COVID, or any other advice, you know, in this post-COVID economic world we're heading into? Any final words?
For me, I hope Canada can, we see like different approach, and my family is living in Canada as well. We see the progress, and of course we have, I do believe each country have different, are unique because we have different context, different situation, and so I hope Canada can stay together and to overcome and back to normal soon, and then we can visit each other more frequently.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Phan.
Thank you, Dr. Phan, and thank you, Lois, for a great session, great questions, and a nice discussion. Now, I'd like to call upon our CEO, Stu Beck, famous guy. Everybody knows him, so I'm not going to have to do an introduction. But Stuart, over to you for some closing remarks, please. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Christine, and thank you, Lois, a great job of moderating. Thank you so much for doing that. And thank you, Cong. It was a great presentation. And I have to say, from my own perspective, I was lucky enough in my career to get involved with Vietnam at the time that we were opening our trade office in Ho Chi Minh City. So I've known Vietnam for quite a number of years, and it's one of the most pleasant places to go and visit. And certainly the foundation has had a role there in the last few years, because Vietnam was one of the focus countries for us in our big project that we had with on APEC building partnerships. And from that, we were focusing on innovation. And as a result, I think what we have with Zone Startups in Ho Chi Minh City, I think is a good example of what we can do together in a collaborative way. And Cong, it's your investments and your energy that really has made that project such a success. It's one of the top 5 accelerators in Vietnam, and I think that's wonderful. But just in terms of your talk, a few things I'd like to underscore. I think Lois has made some really good points, but first, it was a data-rich presentation, Cong. It was lots of information, and if you're all right, we will be more than willing to share it with the people who were participating in this session. I think that was wonderful. The second thing that came away from me is the financial situation that Vietnam is in right now, after all the stuff that has gone through compared to other countries in the world. It's taking this situation very seriously, understanding right from the very beginning. Of course, you're a neighbor of on the borders of China. You've had a long and rich history with China, so you understand what some of the issues are, and you acted immediately. And perhaps it was an intelligence breakdown in the West in terms of not understanding exactly what was going on, and has caused a lot of the problems that we've been facing right now. So I think that's kind of critical. Another comment that you made, and it was raised by Lois as well, is the importance of diversification. And that's diversification of supply chains and the ability for Canadian companies to understand that, yes, China is an important market. We all understand that. 1 billion people you can't ignore. Supply chains have been established there over the last 20 years. Now it's time to think about other places in Asia. And that's one of the roles at the foundation, is we need to explain to people that Asia is more than just one country. Back in the 80s, it was Japan. Today it's China. But you take a look at countries like Japan, Vietnam, the Philippines, Indonesia. These are all big countries with large populations, and the demographic of those populations are really work in our favor, because it's a youth demographic that exists in those places. And it's something for us to understand and to be able to capitalize on. And then the last thing I think I'd like to say is, from my own experience in dealing with Vietnam, and this you raised to a degree in your conversation, but I'd like to reinforce, is the relationship with Canada is a very good one. Our history with Vietnam has not been the history that others have had. We do not have a colonial history. We've always been seen as a friend, and it's reflected in the size of the diaspora that we have, Vietnamese diaspora in the country. The fact that from an education perspective, Canada is a preferred destination for Vietnamese students. So these are all things that work in our favor, and it's something that we should be really building into our strategy when we want to deal with Asia. So I'd like to again thank both of you for doing a great job today. And it's something I think we all walked away with a lot more knowledge about Vietnam and the situation. And I think we're all better for it. So thank you very much. And thank you all who've joined us today for this presentation.